everyone, welcome back to episode 15 of TechTalk. I'm Michelle and I'm here with my co-host
Ryan.
Today we're going to expose ChatGPT model's lack of emotional intelligence.
Expose the house.
Expose. You are exposed.
Yes.
I'm going to expose you. You heard of that song before?
Yeah, check it out in the description.
I love that song. What prompted us to investigate the emotional intelligence is this tweet. So Maxim Lott on Twitter have conducted an IQ test of various LLM models.
Yeah, I can't believe our favorite one is in the middle of the pack, according to this Lott.
Exactly. So he gave these models the Mensa Norway IQ test. And most of the AI models are middle of the pack, below average intelligence. And there's one model that exceeds average human intelligence, and that is the OpenAI O1 model.
So this is the new one that has just been released in September.
I was really surprised by this result because Ryan and I have tested a lot of things we care about between ChatGPT and GoogleGemini. And we both agree that GoogleGemini is superior than ChatGPT, and therefore we started paying the advanced version of Gemini.
Yes.
And we've been a regular user for months now. So for the purpose of this episode, I actually spent $20 on OpenAI's ChatGPT.
Boo.
So that I can really see for myself, is this O1 model or even ChatGPT 4.0 really superior?
Yeah, we want to see for ourselves.
So Ryan and I care a lot about friendly working environment. Would you say so?
Yes, I agree with that.
When you wake up early in the morning at 5 a.m. and you spend hours prompting, what do you like about Gemini?
I really like that Gemini, it doesn't come across as arrogant and only providing one solution for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it often will conditionalize its statements with, this might be the situation, or it may be this situation. However, you should then seek professional guidance.
Yeah.
So I'm always asking advice from Gemini about my golf, whether it's the physical form of my swing or strategy. And what I find really impressive and encouraging about Gemini is that they'll offer advice, they'll give multiple reasons for why something can happen, but then they'll always tell me at the end, for best results, you should seek a professional guidance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the precise point that I like about GoogleGemini. It has strong safety guardrails.
Yes.
It's very humble.
Yes, that's a great word. It's a humble bot. As we'll see in some of our examples today and our previous examples, ChatGPT is not very humble.
Yeah, so Ron and I prepared some examples, and we want to show you side by side between ChatGPT 4.0 and O1 compared to Gemini Advanced.
Yes.
But first, let's debunk this IQ test a little bit. Here I found an article, Debunking LLM IQ Test Results by Chris Chapman on November 15, 2023. And it touched upon this very important concept. IQ test items reflect assumptions, such as working memory and prior item exposure, that do not apply to AI. So this working memory and prior item exposure do not apply to AI. Generally, intelligence does not mean the same thing for LLMs and humans, and AI cannot be assessed with human tests. Also, LLMs may be trained on IQ test items. There are tests applicable to both AI and humans, and AI performance is nowhere near human levels of reasoning. So this person brought up a really good point. This have gotten me to think, when we see a really flashy headline that one model exceeds average human intelligence in reasoning, for example, I think the application scope should be so much narrower to the point that it only narrowed down to that one particular test.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because to be perfectly honest, the IQ tests of this Mensa category are basically just pattern recognition.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. So Mensa Norway IQ test rely on pattern recognition. And here we use our favorite
Gemini Advanced.
Our favorite AI model, Gemini Advanced. And I asked, is Mensa Norway IQ test biased? And they say that the Mensa Norway IQ test, like many online IQ tests, has limitations and potential biases that can affect its accuracy and fairness. It may have cultural bias. It focuses on a single skill. The test primarily measures one aspect of intelligence, visual and spatial reasoning. It doesn't assess other important cognitive abilities like verbal comprehension, working memory, or processing speed. This narrow focus can lead to an incomplete and potentially misleading picture of overall intelligence. What do you think the working memory of AI is? And what do you think the processing speed is? It can't use human intelligence tests to test AI models of these things, right?
Yeah, exactly. And also the AI for our everyday use, it needs to be as smart as us in terms of our emotional needs as well.
Exactly. We can have so much potential.
Yeah.
We can be so creative. But we exist in the world within context.
Yes.
We do not fall out of a coconut tree.
Yeah, exactly.
And these microaggressions can really kill our vibes.
Yes. When we're seeking advice on things like microaggressions or interacting with other people, we want a system that can pick out the nuances and not just look at everything with rose-tinted glasses and see the positive in everyone. Because let's face it, not everybody is positive. There is a lot of toxic people out there. Even ourselves, we have to check ourselves and question, I said this, was I a toxic person? So we need something that's not going to say, no, of course you weren't. You said that thing and it was perfectly fine. Don't worry about how they're crying themselves to sleep at night, right? That's how I feel the impression I get with ChatGPT. It's always saying, you're not bad and the person you're dealing with is not bad. But Gemini is willing to actually go through and say, that person may have been really bad to you.
Yeah, you feel validated when
Exactly.
you talk to Gemini. You don't feel that way when you talk to ChatGPT.
No.
So should we get cracking?
Yeah, let's get our examples up.
So we have two examples. One is more on the more covert microaggression scale.
Yeah.
And the other is a little bit more outrageous, but microaggression nonetheless.
Exactly.
So let's dive into the first example. I make custom snow globes for my team. One of my teammates seemed really impressed by the snow globes, but then he said, "You must have a lot of time on your hands." What did he mean by this?
Yeah, and this is a real life scenario that can happen to you any day of the week if you're dealing with a lot of colleagues. There's going to be a comment where if you look at it on the surface, it's potentially, oh yeah, they're really appreciating my work. But other interpretations of that as well. And so that's why it's nice to have AI to help us with our day-to-day lives and conversations.
Yeah, let's just be realistic. We're not going to look at the surface. We're not going to look. We're going to feel.
Yeah.
And when someone makes that kind of comment towards us, it feels like a jab. But we just brush it under the rug because what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Tell your boss?
Yeah, exactly. So it would be nice to come and potentially get a little validation from your favorite AI bot, especially if you're feeling a negative way about afterwards. A lot of times we have a negative feeling and we don't even comprehend it. And so now it's nice to be able to use these AI platforms to pose our questions. Should I be feeling a certain way about this?
Yeah, so here's the answer from ChatGPT 4.0. So this is not the 01 answer. This is the middle of the pack. On the Mensa Norway IQ test, ChatGPT 4.0 is in the middle of the pack with Gemini Advanced.
Yeah.
So ChatGPT said, when someone says you must have a lot of time on your hands, it can have a few different connotations depending on the context, tone, and the relationship between the people involved. In your case, your teammate could be implying one or more of the following: admiration for effort, mild sarcasm or teasing, misunderstanding of priorities. So it seems that ChatGPT does acknowledge that this is a jab.
A little bit.
Yeah.
But then they go on to defend it and they make some kind of claim at the end that, oh, if their tone was positive or neutral, they're probably more impressed than anything else. If it felt more negative, they may have been downplaying the effort. How did it feel when they said it?
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
When someone tell you to your face, you must have a lot of time on your hands. Is there any scenario that you feel neutral or good?
Not really. No, because especially in the field, if they're our colleagues, right, you can get that sense that having time is something that we're not supposed to have.
Yeah.
They're in this like grind lifestyle that everybody's living. If you have free time, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
That's the implication.
Exactly. I will give ChatGPT a pass on this answer, although it is not ideal. Like, what is supposed to be like they were probably more impressed than anything.
Yeah. It doesn't. So that's the thing, is that they are giving an out. And if you look at the other answers, it's admiration, sarcasm or teasing, and then not until the bottom do you actually get this misunderstanding of priorities. And even that misunderstanding phrase itself gives the perpetrator an out. Oh, they just didn't understand. Well, no, it's possible that this person had full knowledge of why they were saying it, because they wanted to say, you should not have free time.
Yeah.
You wasted your time. I don't have that time to waste. You don't really get that impression from this answer.
Yeah. So our audience may think we are a little bit too strict and a little bit too woke for their taste, but there is another example coming up soon. But let's first go to Google Gemini Advanced answer. So I have the same prompt. I made custom snow globe. One of my teammates seemed impressed, but then he said, you must have a lot of time on your hands. What did he mean by this? So Gemini Advanced said, it sounds like your teammate might have been a little surprised or even slightly envious of the time and effort you put into making the snow globes. Here's why they might have said that. They perceive it as time-consuming. They're impressed, but maybe a little jealous. They're hinting at something else. Which means it's possible, though less likely, that they're subtly suggesting that you should be spending your time on other tasks and priorities.
Exactly, especially if this is a work colleague in a work environment.
Yes, and I feel like this is a much better interpretation, and we're not even getting to the conclusion yet.
Yeah.
So in the end, Gemini said, tone matters. How did they say it? Was it lighthearted and joking, or did it have a more critical tone? This can help you understand their true meaning. Don't overthink it. It's possible they simply made an offhand comment without much thought behind it. If you're unsure of their intent, you could always say something like, it was actually a lot of fun to make them, or I enjoy doing creative projects in my free time. This can help clarify that you find it to be a worthwhile use of your time. Gemini gave you some comforting words that how they say it matters, and don't waste your time overthinking it because it's not worth it.
Yeah.
And they also provided solutions, what to say back to them.
Yeah, exactly. What to say back to them to sort of diffuse the situation or also get a better understanding as to what their intention is.
Yeah, but my fear is that when you say, I enjoy doing creative projects in my free time, then that person will show their true color, like, oh,
I don't have any free time.
Or like, you don't put in so much effort in the office.
Exactly. Yeah. And so then you've basically opened up the gates to figure out exactly what their intentions were.
Yeah.
Or if they say something like, oh yeah, I really love doing arts and crafts in my free time as well. I just couldn't do it this week, and I'm glad you did.
I think that's a delusional thinking.
Yeah. No, I know nobody's going to say that, but I'm just saying that that is a possibility. And if there was a response like that, then you might be able to go into one of these other options here, perceive it, and they're impressed and all this other stuff. But it's not as negative. But that's very highly unlikely to occur.
Yeah.
But you're going to tease that out. You might even catch them off guard if you know what to ask in response. And then maybe they won't make these comments to you in the future.
Yeah.
If you're not, because a lot of times we just back down or we say something mean.
Yeah.
And then they're like, whoa, you're this.
Yeah, I think chances are I'm just going to say, what is that supposed to mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that is your response.
Yeah, so this is, I would consider one of the more covert microaggression.
Yeah.
And it seems to be a little bit challenging for both models.
exactly. Now, one thing that's really cool about Gemini is they have this show drafts as well. And
Yep.
sometimes you can have up to 3 different answers that are provided. And yeah, look, see now there's different choices. And I remember sometimes you've experimented and you found
Draft 3
yeah,
is
you
always more
like
my
draft
thing.
3 is your favorite.
And draft 3 basically said the same thing
Yeah.
about their analysis: impressed but surprised, slightly envious, misunderstanding your intention. Oh, maybe that's a little different. They may have thought you were trying to show off, or you have too much free time, even if that wasn't your intention at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's another possibility, right? And in conclusion, I think this is the best part. The best way to clear up any misunderstanding is to simply ask them what they meant.
Yes.
Yeah, so ChatGPT did not have this forward progress solution-based suggestions.
No. And they also don't use words such as envious, jealous. They don't have that type of terminology.
Yeah,
They're
they say wash the
LLM.
situation.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so you guys may think we're too critical at this point. So I have a little bit more of an outrageous microaggression.
Yes.
Shall we move on?
Yes.
I went shopping with 2 people at the store of the Audubon Society. I purchased a pamphlet about animal tracking. When we were done shopping and out of the store, one of the people I went shopping with pointed at the plastic bag in my hands and asked, "Did you pay for this?" What do they mean by this?
Yeah.
So shall we look into the answer from ChatGPT first?
Yeah, let's see what chat does.
All right, I'm going to ask our audience to hang on to their seat for this one. So ChatGPT said, "It sounds like the person who asked, 'Did you pay for this?' was referring to the plastic bag you were carrying. Their question might have been meant to check whether you were aware of that. In some places, stores charge for plastic bags, particularly to encourage people to bring reusable ones.
Yes.
The Audubon Society, being an environmental conscious organization, might be one of those places. So they may have been curious if you had paid for the bag or just assumed it was free, which could reflect their awareness of environmental or store policies. Alternatively, the question could have been a lighthearted way of pointing out something they found surprising or unusual, like carrying a plastic bag in a setting where environmental awareness is a priority." So ChatGPT really focused on the phrase plastic bag.
Yeah, an Audubon Society.
And Audubon Society and the environment.
Yeah.
Now, I can understand why my prompt is misleading. But were you misled by that?
Well, even if you didn't pay for this bag, they're still accusing you of taking something that you hadn't paid for. But what's interesting is that ChatGPT focuses simply on the bag.
Very literal plastic bag, and brought it to, oh, people don't use plastic bags anymore.
Yeah, and they don't talk about what was potentially in the bag or
the motivation of the person who asked, "Did you pay for this?"
Yeah, exactly. They make it sound like it's a curious person asking, "Did you pay for that?" rather than an accusing person.
Yeah, so ChatGPT so far focuses very much the literal meaning of the words in the prompt.
Yeah.
Now, let's move on to Gemini Advanced. Gemini said, "It sounds like the person was implying that you might have stolen the pamphlet."
Wow, so they right off the bat, Gemini is doing a little bit more serious of an analysis.
Here's why this could be the case. Concern for the Audubon Society. So they talk about how Audubon Society is nonprofit, they need donations and sales to support, so maybe they don't want you to just simply steal from Audubon Society.
Yeah.
And misunderstanding, perhaps they didn't see you make the purchase. They might have genuinely been concerned that you accidentally walked out without paying. Awkward communication. Some people have a very direct way of speaking, and they might not have realized how their question could be interpreted. It's important to remember that there could be other explanation as well. The best way to clear up any misunderstanding is to politely explain that you did indeed pay for the pamphlet.
Yeah. So, I mean, this has done a pretty good job here of providing multiple different explanations, providing a solution, which again is promoting direct communication with the person by saying, oh, yes, I did indeed pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
And then other implications here as to what could happen with the pamphlet.
An isolated event like this is hard for Gemini to comprehend.
Yeah. But it did a much better job of picking out the most dangerous situation
Yes.
in which the person is accusing you of stealing, whereas ChatGPT tried to avoid that at all costs. That AI model seems to avoid commenting on the possibility that people are toxic in your life.
Yeah. So far we tested AI models that were in the middle of the pack of the Mensa Norway IQ test. What about the ChatGPT O1 preview model?
Yeah, this is supposed to be much, much smarter.
Yeah, so we put in the same prompt. First one is about the snow globe, and the colleague said you must have a lot of time on your hand. So they thought about it for 4 seconds.
Yeah, that's different. They wouldn't talk about their thinking process in the other ChatGPTs.
O1 preview said, when your teammate said you must have a lot of time on your hands, they were commenting on the considerable time and effort it likely took to create the custom snow globes. This phrase often implies that someone has invested a significant amount of time into an activity that goes beyond typical expectations. So I feel like this is a little bit saying washing again.
Yeah, they're only picking up the positive interpretation of it.
Yeah. And then they proceed to say, in your context, your teammates seemed really impressed by the snow globes. I feel like they're using my own words against me here. They're quoting me, and they use this as a reason why they interpret it as such. It says, their remark was likely a recognition of your dedication and craftsmanship. They might have been expressing admiration for your commitment to making something special for the team, acknowledging that such a project requires time, patience, creativity. Let me ask you again, when someone tell it to your face, you must have a lot of time on your hands. Is there any time that this can be interpreted as such, that they're praising you?
Yeah, no, not in our business, not in our world.
However, it's worth noting that this phrase can sometimes carry different tones depending on the context and delivery. Positive acknowledgement, lighthearted teasing, and subtle criticism. So they start by saying washing the situation, and then they provide some of the reality.
Yeah. So they provide some of the potential, but then they give a concluding mark.
The conclusion,
in bold letters.
In bold letters, they said, in essence, they were acknowledging the significant time and effort you invested in creating the custom snow globes and expressing admiration for your commitment and the impressive result.
Yeah.
So this is IQ 120, above average human, ChatGPT O1 preview for you.
Yeah. They've done a little bit better, but they're still, once again, siding with the person making a potentially toxic comment.
I think they did worse than the 4.0.
Yeah, to be honest, I agree.
In the conclusive remark, 4.0 said, it depends on the tone.
Yeah, they didn't even qualify with the tone. Oh, that was the other thing I wanted to say, is that they come off very aggressive by saying, when your teammate said this, they were commenting on that. They don't say anything like,
it's likely
they did this. So they're trying to almost have this air of overconfidence and pigeonholing you into just accepting and believing one answer. And then they kind of throw these little crumbs of, oh, it could have been this or could have been that. But this is what I think it was.
Yeah. So I would say that I would not want to work with someone who resembles ChatGPT O1 preview.
Yeah. Exactly. We still like the Gemini model better. And that could be entirely because, as you mentioned before, measuring these IQ tests with AI could be a moot point because its pattern recognition of shapes is much different than pattern recognition of language and communication. And these are supposed to be LLMs, large language models, right? So the fact that it can solve a puzzle with shapes and numbers is not going to help me in my day-to-day stress relief. You know what I mean? Or day-to-day trying to understand what these people are saying to me and what did they mean by it.
Yeah. it's possible they may be good at, handling data for a project.
Yeah, coding.
But then they're going to tell me in a tone that is like, this is it.
Yeah.
Take it or leave it.
Yeah.
That's not even correct. Where Gemini would always apologize to me. Oh, you're absolutely right.
Yes. And then they revise. And I don't see any multiple different options for answers with this.
Shall we look at the plastic bags from the O1 model? So again, this is the example where basically someone accused me of stealing, and the ChatGPT 4.0 was hung up on the word plastic bag without really realizing what I was referring to. So ChatGPT 0.1 preview thought for 6 seconds.
A little bit longer this time.
When your companion pointed at the plastic bag and asked, "Did you pay for this?" they were likely inquiring whether you had paid for the bag itself, not just the pamphlet inside. What?
At least they used the word likely in this. But even the word likely is leaning towards, I believe that this is what it is.
Many environmentally focused organizations like the Audubon Society encourage sustainability, blah, 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 blah. Their questions suggest you were concerned that you might have taken a bag that was meant to be purchased separately, possibly unintentionally committing a minor oversight or violating store policy. They wanted to ensure that all items, including the bag, were properly paid for, perhaps to prevent any issues or to uphold environmental principles. So it seems like they were they're almost touching on the fact that this person is accusing me of stealing. Then they pulled away and they went back to the environmental principles.
Yeah, so you can kind of see where they're drawing from. They're using the word Audubon Society to conditionalize and make it believe that anyone that goes to the Audubon Society must care about plastic bags and the environment. And that's going to be their main focus. That's what the assumption, I believe, that Chat is making. They're not allowing you to say that not everyone who goes to the Audubon Society cares about the environment, right? But they think that they do. And that's how they're making their answer.
Yeah, in reality, the bag was given to me for free.
Yeah, exactly.
To carry my pamphlet.
Exactly.
So it was free plastic bag from the Audubon Society.
Exactly.
Their conclusive remark in bold letters said, in essence, they were asking if you paid for the plastic bag because it might not have been free, reflecting environmental or store policies regarding plastic use.
Yeah.
So it's like they're almost touching on the fact that this person is accusing me of stealing.
Yeah.
But they can't let go of the fact that, you're not supposed to be using plastic bags.
Yeah, they focus in on this plastic bag, which would at most be 10 cents. That's very interesting. Whereas Gemini was really able to pick up right away that this person was talking about the pamphlet.
Yeah.
And the thinking that you were just walking out of the store with it. And that the only way you can resolve this is by saying, oh yeah, of course I paid for it. But then you should be questioning this person and why they're judging you in this way.
Yeah.
Going forward. You should be prepared for this person to be constantly questioning you.
Yeah.
In inappropriate ways.
Yeah, in a way, I'm also glad that even though Gemini Advanced have gotten it right, it did not overreact because I've only fed one covert example into the prompt. I didn't say there's a repeated pattern. I can only imagine what ChatGPT is gonna say. They're gonna say watch every example.
Yeah, exactly. And this has happened multiple times, and now with multiple models of their improved models have not given us a satisfactory emotional intelligence response. And one that integrates human behavior and negative behavior, maybe the dark triad.
Yeah, I bet Gemini Advanced have trained on a lot of the dark triad.
Yes. Yes. And there's a lot of dark triad people out there. I'm not going to necessarily need help if somebody is just cheering me on, right? I'm going to need help if this person is habitually making comments and jabs at me and nobody else believes me and stuff like that. I'm going to say, all right, are these jabs?
Or everybody else around you trying to sandwich the situation.
Yeah.
Or just saying nothing.
Just like ChatGPT does.
Yeah, the important thing here is we have these models implemented to write emails.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're advertised to write it in a professional tone, in a fun tone, in this tone and that tone.
Yeah.
But if they can't even get the tone right, how are they supposed to help us write emails?
Yeah, exactly. And that's something that needs a lot of training. But I believe that Gemini is more advanced in their training of this responses.
Yeah, and if I'm thinking about an AI robot as my assistant that takes care of me, I'm not gonna get some model that is not woke.
Yeah, exactly.
That is not on the same page with me.
Yes.
That is not on my side. That doesn't validate my feelings.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's why Gemini has still risen to the top for us.
The reason why we want to show this, or my motivation, is to say you may see some flashy headlines of a specific AI model is so smart.
Yeah.
But that test may be biased, and it's important to look at every test and every conclusion critically.
And also, the point is, you're not limited to just using one. You can use multiple different AI platforms for different needs. So ChatGPT might be much better if you're just doing math problems and coding and things that don't need emotional intelligence.
I don't know about that either. I tried, but
Yeah, oh yeah. I'm just saying it could be.
yeah.
Because, that they claim that certain things are better.
But you have to find the answer that works the best for you.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's all we want to cover today.
Yeah, so hopefully you enjoyed some of our examples, and hopefully you guys get to try out some of your own in-life experiences on these bots.
Yeah, we'll see you guys next week.
Yep, see you. Bye.
Bye.
I just wanna have fun, clap my hands, turn around now and dance, dance, dance. I just wanna have fun, clap my hands, turn around now and dance, dance, dance. I just wanna have fun, clap my hands, turn around now and dance, dance, dance.